Item on our agenda is RS 2012-203, sponsors McGuire, appropriates $13,477,800 from the General Fund Reserve Fund to 21 Metro departments to purchase various equipment and repairs. I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-204, sponsors Claiborne and McGuire, approves an amendment to a grant from the Metro Development and Housing Agency to the Metro Historical Commission to perform environmental review by extending the term of the grant through March 31st, 2013. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-205, sponsors Lancaster and McGuire, approves an amendment to a federal grant to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start Initiative by authorizing the carryover of unobligated funds in the amount of $159,514. Council Lady Lancaster.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-206, sponsors Claiborne, Pridemore, and others, approves the sixth application for a hazard mitigation grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and authorities of Metro Water Services to acquire 25 homes located within various floodways, floodplains in Davidson County. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-118, sponsors Claiborne, McGuire, and Tigard, authorizes the Industrial Development Board to negotiate and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes for the benefit of the proposed Gaylord Dollywood Water and Snow Park. I believe there is an amendment. Attorney Cooper, if you would, please address that.
There's an amendment that makes a change to the performance milestones that are in the bill. It removes the requirement from the bill that a local general contractor be used. And the reason for the amendment is there are some legal concerns associated with requiring local governments or local governments putting such requirements for local contractors. There's also an issue with reciprocity for local contractors here who are trying to do work in other cities. Other cities may have policies that prevent contractors from bidding on projects in that city if they're not allowed to bid on projects in the other city. So it's that didn't come out right, but it's anyway, it's one of reciprocity, and this just puts a policy statement in there that Metro encourages and supports the retention and hiring of local contractors, but it is not one of the performance milestones.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion on the amendment, please? I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Council Lady Berry.
Actually, I'm on the bill.
Oh, on the bill.
Actually, no, I can do it on this. I can do it on the amendment. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the recognition. My question is this. We're going to remove this, and I think it's really important to recognize that we do want local folks to have the opportunity to work on this, and I get that we're going to take this out because of some legal issues. John, can you tell me, first of all, is this amendable on third?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so if we wanted to put some language together that somehow mirrors some of the language we put in with the convention center, where we're asking for some milestone, where we're actually looking at who's doing what, where we're getting information about who the employees are, we're looking at who the companies are, who they're hiring, and having some basic hiring goals. Is there language from the convention center that we could take over and use into this as well?
There are some requirements in the convention center bills related to that, so we could certainly review that and
look to
see what could be incorporated.
Okay. Well, I appreciate what the administration was trying to do and what we were trying to do, recognizing that we want to have locals and we do want to have some accountability numbers in there. I would appreciate if we can take a look at that. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Mitchell, you're recognized.
Yeah, I had the same concerns Council Lady Berry had, and, what we could do. And discussing with the Gaylord representative and the Dollywood representative, I'm confident they understand we're looking to create jobs for people here in our MSA. But to go back to what Council Lady Berry said, Council Lady Berry, we definitely don't want to look at anything with the convention center language because, they're not supplying us with anything right now that lets us know where these workers are coming from. In fact, they just lost a court ruling in a lower court where they were sued for not giving us that type of information. And instead of the Convention Center Authority saying, oh, we lost this court ruling, they're appealing to a higher court so they can keep it tied up in court for several more months until the work is completely done, and we never hire locals. So we definitely need to look to some other language other than anything that's in the convention center because it's not the right language. So, but with that being said, from discussing with these folks, I think they understand, Gaylord's a part of this community. I think Dollywood wants to be a partner in this community, and they understand we're looking to create jobs for Nashvillians, especially if we're given this type of tax incentive in doing so. So I think we can work with those folks to accomplish this, but, we need on down the line different projects. We need some different language because what we did at the convention center did not work. With that being said, I think I can support this evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Langster, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the heels of Councilman Mitchell and Berry, my concern is, do we have any checks and balances to make sure? I know we can't make sure, but we need to look out for Nashvillians and Tennesseans. I mean, I feel that a lot of our Bedroom County workers, construction workers, and others are getting a very high percentage of these jobs when we should be looking out for Nashvillians and secondly, Tennesseans. Is there any
The
check?
only requirement in the bill is that Gaylord hold a job fair for Davidson County people before the park opens to try and hire Davidson County residents. That's one of the performance milestones.
That sounds good. Could they respond to us as to what their outcome was? Could we put some language to complement Barry's amendment if she carries it, if she continues with it?
I think
I'd
there
like
could
to
be
have a
some-
response
I think
back.
there could be some language, reporting requirement as
Thank
to
you.
the local employees hired.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Garrett, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to caution, when you're talking about comparing what goes on, and I agree with I don't have a problem with any kind of information that wants to come from where people are hired or what they're doing, but just bear in mind when you start comparing the convention center with a project like this, the big difference is tax dollars are being paid and being used to build the convention center. These are private dollars that are being used. It may be a tax abatement, but and of course, remember again, where everybody talks about what taxes we're losing. We're not really losing anything because there's nothing on that property. And that's the whole thing to remember, is there's nothing on that property to begin with, and there won't be anything there unless we were able to negotiate a deal like this with anything else. So it's a little bit different from the convention center with all of the dollars that are being spent there are tax dollars. And I like what we did there. I wish they were reporting it to satisfy every council member. I wish they were doing what they were supposed to be doing here. I don't think the private industry here would object to letting anybody know what they're doing, because this particular private industry has been very open with most everything they've done.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment passes. Now we are on the bill as amended. May I have a motion, please? Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we can take the next two items on our agenda together. BL 2012-119, sponsors Lankster, Claiborne, and Hunt, authorize the execution and filing of notice of land use restrictions for a small section of property owned by Metro adjacent to 28th Avenue North. And BL 2012-120, sponsors Claiborne and Hunt, authorize the execution and filing of notice of land use restrictions for property next to the new Cumberland Play Park downtown.
Actually, was a substitute for 120 that's housekeeping in nature.
Okay. Okay. I believe we actually have a substitute for BL 2012-120 that is largely housekeeping. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Tiger?
Has Metro been the property owner of this for a long time?
There are two separate areas. One is for the 28th Avenue connector, which was acquired a couple years ago. And then the other is part of the CVB, Korean Veterans Boulevard right-of-way, next to where the play park is going to be.
I'm just wondering what the source of the contamination was. Whether it was a Metro responsibility or...
It was pre-Metro. Metro acquired the property, with these existing conditions.
And Metro knew about these conditions when they acquired the property? Do we do soil tests or we do due diligence to, and I know there's not major problems with this, but I'm just curious as to if we're buying contaminated property, if we get a discounted rate for it. Transparency in government.
Do you want to get Rich to respond? Rich?
Councilman, I think when we do buy property, we do get soil testing and we do phase ones and all that. I can't speak about these specific ones. I don't know per se what was done on these, but I know as a general rule when we buy property, we do the normal due diligence that any buyer would do when they buy property. But one of these would have been acquired long before I was around. I'll try to find out the answer for you before tomorrow night. And on the 28th Avenue one, I just don't know the answer to that. I'll find out.
And these have been remediated to TDEX standards or approval. So, they have been capped. What the restrictions do is prohibit us from disturbing the property without approval of TDEC.
Remediated at whose expense?
At the landowner's expense before we obtain the property. Now, with the CVB right-of-way, I don't know, because that was some time ago. But
that goes to my question, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Lankster, do you wish to be recognized on the substitute or?
On Councilman
Go ahead.
Tiger, John, on the 28th Avenue property, didn't the state discover it or inform us of the contamination?
we would have acquired it with the understanding of, I'm sure soil sampling was done for that acquisition.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the substitute? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Councilor Lankster, do you wish to speak on the motion to approve both of these, or?
Move approval on both ordinances.
Okay.
Bills.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-121 sponsors Johnson, amends the passenger vehicle for hire regulations in the Metro Code to exclude shuttle vans that solely provide transportation to and from a parking facility in the airport. I believe that it is the request of the sponsor to have this deferred. I have a motion and a second. Did she designate?
Send a letter, so it's about
We'll defer by rule. Okay.
the rule overrides the motion.
Okay. Next item is BL 2012-122. Sponsors McGuire approves a third extension to the term of the cable television franchise held by Comcast through May 5th, 2013. May I have a motion, please? A motion and a second. Councilman Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that our friend, Mr. Durbin, is here, and so come on up, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Not at all.
Obviously, I am very supportive of this because I'm very interested in the CATV committee having as much time as it needs to negotiate with Comcast an arrangement that is beneficial to our community and the citizens of our community. And I'm just curious, obviously we are now extending this, not 6 months as I think originally we talked about, but for a full year. And I was just curious, Mr. Durbin, what is the status of the discussions with Comcast?
Over the last year, we have continued to work with Comcast to the point where we feel like we're relatively close to an agreement. One of the things that moved the negotiations on was that we engaged a representative who did a couple of analyses for us. They did a full franchise review, they did a franchise fee review, and they also did a community-based community needs assessment. Those were released last fall, and that they have given us some information that lets us know that there is an underpayment of franchise fee on Comcast's part. We are using that as a part of the negotiation with Comcast, and as of 2 weeks ago, when we had thought we were getting to a point where we may have an agreement, Comcast came back and asked that rather than a 6 months extension, they went for a 1 year extension based on 3 things. They wanted to have a discussion, us to facilitate a discussion with Nashville Electric Service, which this conversation right here may be taken care of. And they also wanted to review language in the Metro Code, Chapter 6.08, that governs some of the areas of how local franchise agreements are covered. And then there was one other thing that has slipped my mind that I can bring back to you tomorrow. But with those things in place, we think we are close to an agreement.
Well, that's very good news. I just didn't want to let an opportunity go by for the world not to hear that. I don't know how many of my colleagues are aware of all of these discussions, but I expect if everyone was up to snuff, they would be very supportive of the CATV Special Committee and your negotiations, and we will stand solidly behind you all because you all are standing up for the community, and I thank you for your good work.
We appreciate that, and we also are looking forward to get this done. I think one of the other 3 things that I had forgotten is we're looking to meet in person every 3 weeks, as opposed to the current methodology is to swap proposals back and forth. We're looking to meet once every 3 weeks face to face until we can get this moved along.
I believe you had a lot of hair when all that started.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Durbin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-124, sponsors McGuire and Hunt, abandons 4 stormwater easements for properties located at 3711 and 3715 Crestview Drive. May I have a motion, please? And a second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes, and that concludes our agenda. Thank you very much.